Ooh, I'm a little late posting this video, but I wanted to talk to y'all about what happened to me on the supermoon. I think it was last week now. So, if you know, like if you're familiar with the channel, you know that this is my tower year. And it has been just that. It has been a tower year. Now, what that looks like for me and for the fam is negative things keep piling on to one another, like as in a snowball effect. It seems like the first time something bad happened was back in February. So in January, I do this massive like home protection spell every January, okay? And then that's like the big one to start the year out right. And I could feel it working. I could feel the magic vibrating. Okay, it was doing its thing, and and then there's things that I like, littler things that I do, smaller things that I do throughout the year to kind of keep the magic protection, magic flowing. Okay, then I do some cleansing, and so it's just a whole process. Okay, y'all know what I mean if y'all are doing any magic. Okay, performing any magic. So then came my birthday, which is like mid-February, which was great because I was getting a lot of good energy from January to February. And then at the end of February, something really negative happened to one of my children. And you know, us mama's bears, we feel that right in our core. Okay, we feel that. It was so bad that, here where we live, the pandemic was, I guess, not as harsh as other parts of the country. So the children are able to go to school. They just have to wear masks, just because that was the mandate at the beginning of the year. So I had sent them to school because they're in gifted programs. And when you do virtual and you do gifted, it's really tough on the child. So I chose to send them to school so that they could be a part of those gifted programs. So anyway, something negative happened to my oldest, and it was so bad that I had to pull him out and let him do virtual here at the house with me. So that happened late February, and then that was the beginning of what would end up being a snowball. It was just one negative thing piled on top of one another. And then what really it looked like, or has been looking like for the last couple of months, is lots of little things that add to your stress, right? And you don't think that when these little things happen that you need to do anything magically, because you're like, oh, this is just everyday bad shit. I don't have to do nothing with this, but what happens is the stress piles on top of one another. It's like this little thing, this little thing, and then you just keep going up this stress-inducing ladder where eventually your cup's gonna overflow. And that's what happened to this bitch, okay, this witchy bitch. So I think about a month before the supermoon, some small things happened to the homestead here, okay? If you know the channel, in the last couple of videos, you've been hearing like the construction sounds, because I've been outside because I'm an outside baby. I like to be outside, and it's been so nice here so far. So there's been a lot of construction going on. I can like literally watch them cut down trees, which has been slicing my heart open, okay, for real. And then on top of the incessant beeping of the machinery, I hate construction sounds. I'm a wild child. I like everything to be wild. I like nature to just do its thing. So that's what kind of started like in the spring, right? I started noticing started noticing that construction was getting heavier and heavier. And now that they've cut so many trees down, I can watch them do it, which is so bad for my psyche. And then, so anyways, I started noticing the construction getting worse and worse. And, there's nothing I can do about that except keep going down to City Hall, trying to get them to stop this. But, you need a whole bunch of people to make a difference, to be honest with you, here in this town. So anyways, nothing was happening. Then we were cutting the grass one day because, my children cut grass, and they were running over something metal. Like, you know what it sounds like when you cut grass and you run over something that you're not supposed to. So I was like, stop. And I went over there and we found what looked like metal, like a whole bunch of metal rods, like metal pieces that were in like these perfect shapes. And I kept thinking, what the hell is this? So I put it all in a box so that they could continue to cut grass. And so that happened. The construction happened. And then my husband got home and said that this was a very old bed frame. And I thought, I was like, what the hell is that doing out in the middle of the yard? So, anyways, we've just been noticing things like around the homestead, right? Construction, and then this metal bed frame that looks like, I mean, it was buried in the yard because we've never noticed it before. We've lived here for, 5+ years. And it's like once the ground settled, the bed was a thing. So it's like, I don't know if this was a bed that they threw out in the yard and like to throw away, or if it, I mean, like back in the, I guess in the 60s and 70s, they took those old beds and old bikes and things and made like flower beds out of them. So it could have just been something like that. But anyway, it was a bed frame. Okay. So I was like, I need to cleanse this stuff. I need to do this. I need to do that. And I kept thinking that there were things magically that I could do, but because of the stress and because of the time and because of my energy levels, I wasn't doing any of it. And then a few days before the full moon, okay, the Sagittarius full moon, which was, I guess, last week when I'll be posting this, I got a notice that because of the construction, rodents are coming into the residential areas. Like mice and rats, people. I was like, oh my God, what is happening? So I knew that this was, I mean, like all this little stuff was adding up. I could feel it. So I had made my mind up. I was like, okay, we're in the eye of the storm here. Nothing negative, seemingly negative. Oh, let me just fix my hair. It's all wonky. Nothing seemingly negative has happened in about a week or two. So I feel like we're in the eye of the storm, but I'm on a precipice. Like I know something else is going to happen. But that because I'm in the eye, because the supermoon, super full Sagittarius lunar eclipse moon was coming up, I was like, I had put my mind up that I was going to do this huge cleanse on myself, on the homestead, the house, redo my barrier spell, okay? Because, like, I don't know, this is a thing, like, a lot of witches do this. It's like, the edges of your property, you do some cleansing shit, like, you put up this, like, barrier shield, okay? So I was like, that needs to, because I haven't been doing, the home protection stuff that is like a shield. You have to re-up that, and I wasn't doing that. Like my energy has not been what it's supposed to be for me to keep up with that stuff, so I wasn't keeping up with it. So I was like, okay, the supermoon's coming up. I'm going to do this massive cleanse on myself, on everyone in the house itself, the barrier of the house. I'm going to shove what I needed to do. Okay, what I needed to do was shove all of that out. All of what was, stagnant, the negative energy that was on the homestead, I needed to push that out and then raise the barrier back up, okay? So I had all these big plans. Yeah. What do you think happened to me the night of the supermoon? Yeah. It debilitated me, folks. It debilitated me. Okay? So I woke up the day of the supermoon, and I had all these plans. I had gotten in the garden, in the herb garden that morning. Well, first of all, let me say, I woke up with a headache. Slight headache, okay? Which is not, that's normal for full moons, okay? It messes with a lot of people like that, but I woke up with a slight headache, but I had told myself I needed to get in the herb garden because it's kind of going ape right now. And for my particular herb garden, which is basically like a 10 by 10, in the yard, it's like, whoa, it's going crazy. It's I guess right now, right before the peak of summer, which would be Litha, here, it fills in. It's coming out of this dormant stage. Not that, a lot of my herbs are evergreen, so they never go out. But there's a dormancy that happens in the winter here. So, I gotten a whole bunch of sage out, like loose sage. I've made some bundles that had specific intentions on it, okay? I had big plans, y'all. Then I had a whole bunch of loose incense that I burn like in little things around the house, every so often. So I like to have loose around, and so that I can crush it up in my mortar and pestle. So, for powder, like to roll with candles. I mean, it's a whole big thing. Okay, so I like it all. So I had a whole slew of sage, and I had big plans for all these, for all these herbs. I had picked some more of my herbs to go on to add to some of my home protection. I had big plans for this night of the full supermoon. A couple hours into the day, the hubby was at work. The kids are at home because school's over now. Think everything is holy. And I remember little from that night. My husband had kind of worked overtime that day, so he didn't get home until, I don't know, about 8 o'clock. And I already, by that point, about 8 o'clock at night, I was on the couch. I couldn't talk. I couldn't even move, because as soon as I would turn over or try to get comfortable, my head would pound. It had turned into a full-blown migraine from hell. Okay? So I was completely debilitated. I couldn't do anything. Nothing. And at first I was like, this is just the supermoon. I need to get over this. I need to drink this tea. I need to take this medicine, blah, 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 blah. I had all this stuff to do. I have to do this cleanse and blah, blah, blah. And I was so set that I was going to do it that night, But I think that added to my overall stress. And what I was talking about in the beginning was, this cup that was overfilleth, it was overfilling. And so my husband got home, and we had this weird psychic link. I don't know. I don't want to sound too crazy, but it was almost like when he walked in the door at around 8, he already knew I had a headache, okay? Because we've been married so long, he knows the gist, he knows my look. And he knows that when I get like that, and it's been like that for hours, that I don't eat. So I hadn't eaten anything all day, which to be honest, makes your headache worse. But when you're so in pain and you're so nauseous from the pain, you don't want to eat. It's kind of like being pregnant, you're like, I just won't even eat. But you kind of have to make yourself, but I didn't. So he got home, and I immediately linked with him, mentally or whatever. And he came over, and he was rubbing my temples, and he was like, do I need to take you to the hospital? I was like, no, because they're just going to be concentrating on testing me for this, pandemic shit. And I know that that's not what this is. This is the supermoon fucking me up. I'm not cleansed. My energy is wonky. The house has been, the stress of the house has just been, one thing on top of the other. So that's why the supermoon is messing me up so bad. And so I said, just feed the kids, because I can't even move. And he was like, okay, but after I make it, you need to eat something, because I know you haven't eaten all day. And I was like, whatever. So he made it. I felt myself getting more and more nauseous because of the smell. Like I said, it's just like being pregnant when you have a migraine, and so I had gotten up to wobble over to the kitchen, and from being laid down in that specific position for so long, I got dizzy, right? I got really dizzy, and I was wobbling into the kitchen because I was gonna force myself to eat. And I just started projectile vomiting bile everywhere, like I was in The Exorcist. And I was like, okay, freaking the kids and the hubby out. And my husband looked at me and he was like, something is up with you. And you know that when you get like this, you can't do anything but sleep it off. So I had to take my special medicine, because I get migraines all the time anyway. So I had to take my special medicine and sleep it off for the next 12 hours and just let this plan that I had go. This plan of doing my magic, whatever, I had to completely sleep it off. So I took my medicine and slept it off for the next 12 hours. Okay? And I kept telling myself, I'm like, just let it go. You'll do it when you feel better. Now, I really probably could have made myself do certain magical workings, but when it's that bad, when the energy overflows like that, it did feel like a purge. It felt like the energy, that the negative energy that was coming out of me was going to do what it had to do, and my cup had finally overfilled, and the only way that it could purge that negative energy out of me was by me projectile vomiting everywhere and getting to a place where I was completely incapacitated. So slept it off, woke up the next morning, and I felt a little bit better. But after a severe migraine, my whole head feels separate from my body. Like the day after a migraine, it feels there's a disconnect there. There's a special tea I drink. God, I sound nuts as hell, but hopefully if you're into witchcraft, you know what I'm talking about. So there's a disconnect. I literally feel like my head is something separate than my body after a severe migraine. It's almost like a residual weakness that my body goes through or something like that. So anyway, there's things that I have to do the very next day after migraine to heal from the migraine. But then the day after that, I was like, okay, hubby, get off early. We need to do some regular cleansing and I'll do some magical cleansing because I'll feel better. And I didn't plan it out to the point where it would debilitate me again, because I was like, I was worried that I was going to. But I'm going to share with you guys what I've been neglecting and where I think the negative energy stagnates in the house. And I wasn't doing these things. It's like the things you do all the time to get the energy to zhuzh out, right? And that's mirrors, okay? Because all this negative stuff, that the stress, the kids' stress, the hubby stress, whatever, it's bouncing into the mirror and right back out into the house. So you have to wash your mirrors, okay, magically, and actually, Windex the hell out of them, and then do some, there's like some oils that you can put around the sides of the mirror, like on the frame, and you could sage it, you could Palo Santo it. There's things you can do to cleanse the mirror, and you have to actually clean it, like with Windex. So you have to go around and do all the mirrors, which we did. What else? Baseboards, because I feel like even if you clean, say you go and you do it half-assed, right? You're saging the house half-assed, then the negative energy can seep down the walls to the baseboards. So you have to be able to sweep that away from the baseboards as well. So I did that. So you just wipe them down with a dryer sheet. That's what I do. That's what my mama taught me to do. That's some backwoods shit. What else? Windows. Oh, now it's gotten hot here, above 80 degrees Fahrenheit here, so you can't really open the windows. But the weekend after the supermoon, we had gotten hit with a severe cold front here in Georgia. So I don't know, I was able to open the windows. Now I can't cleanse the windows magically unless I can open the windows, because I need to be able to visualize that negative energy pouring out of the windows. Okay. So I opened the windows, cleaned the windows, actually Windexed them, and then open the windows, sage or Palo Santo, whatever. You can even do cleansing spray if you can't do smoke. Some people use incense. I just happen to use sage because I grow it. So anyway, clean the windows, baseboards, mirrors, and under the beds. It dawned on me. I call under the beds the oubliettes, which in French is forgotten. It's the forgotten place. You barely get your vacuum under there, really. It's just one of those places in the house that gets neglected a lot. But I feel like when you sleep, your energy, especially your negative energy, kind of sifts like silt to the bottom, to under your bed. Because you tend to let a lot of what's happened to you that day go in your sleep, just like I did my migraine. It goes away at sleep. So it has to go somewhere. That negative energy of the headache has to go somewhere. And what it does is it seeps down under the bed. So you have to get up under there and vacuum and get up some trash and, those inserts that when you buy new shoes, those are everywhere under the beds. Because, when you got teenagers like me, they want shoes all the time for some reason. Clean under the beds and air filters. Now, here's the thing about my air filters. We live in a home of 4 people. And so really, we change the air filter, in your air conditioning unit, every 3 months, like clockwork. So that's not a thing that I was neglecting. But this particular time, I went down there to switch it out. It was black. It's hardly ever black, okay? It's hardly ever actually dark, okay? So there was some bad shit in the air filter this time. Cleaned it out. After I did that, it just felt, it didn't feel like, oh, you know, light bulbs and fireworks and shit, okay? What it feels like is now I feel like I can actually face what comes next without projectile vomiting, okay? That's the goal. Not to have these like fireworks and fairy light type things, you know, that happen when you do magical workings. It doesn't always happen like that. It just, you have to be able to face whatever's going to come next. And by doing some of these magical cleanse and magical protections and magical workings of any kind in terms of your house and the people in your house, I feel better prepared. That's really all it is. I feel better prepared for what comes next. Even sometimes I even have to like type it on my phone calendar, like make sure to wash the mirrors today, you know, like once a week. That helps too. Because when you get into ruts and stressful times and you go through ruts and your energy's not as it needs to be or usually is or whatever, then you kind of forget to do certain those, you know, normal, not everyday things, but it's the things you need to, you know, keep up with, like washing your comforters. You know, I can go months without washing that damn thing, but I don't need to do that. So it's like the things that you're supposed to do, kind of keep up with stuff that you need to kind of write down somewhere so that energy doesn't stagnate in these places. So I guess, I don't know, I'm rambling. I just wanted to come on and share that the supermoon completely debilitated me. I had all these plans. I guess for me, it didn't feel okay to skip this cleanse because it felt like I needed it. It felt like my body and my children and my husband and the house itself, this, you know, living, breathing organism that we live inside, and then the yard, and then the dog, you know, it's just like it needed this severe cleanse. And I was shoving it so hard through this, you know, tiny square hole that it completely debilitated me. And it was like, okay. It was almost like the energy of the full moon poured over me to where I did have to purge it. Didn't even get a chance to do any kind of magical working so that wouldn't happen. But if I had been keeping up, okay, because look, stress kills. If I didn't perform magic, if I wasn't a witch, stress still kills, okay? So you do have to do what you got to do to keep your stress level down. But because I had gotten into this like spiritual ennui where I was neglecting what my normal is, like my normal my normal things that I do, whatever that may be, even if it's not a magical working, I was neglecting my shit. And what that looked like was piling on top of one another, and then my body was just like, okay, purge it all out. And it was scary. It was really scary. But it's really, for me, it's about being a little bit more consistent, being a little bit more mindful, and how if I had, like, I felt like it was me doing the purging, but it could have easily been my husband. It could have easily been the kids that the energy built up in. And I don't want that to happen to them because, you know, in this particular house, I'm the matriarch, right? I'm the mama bear, so I have to take care of all that stuff. And so it purged out of me, and I'm grateful that it did instead of the other people that live here. But at the same time, I have to be able to be consistent with whatever it is that I do to keep the energy flowing and my stress down. And when you don't do that, you don't do whatever it is that you do to keep your stress levels down and your energy flowing, not stopping, you know, you keep hitting barriers after barriers, because you keep telling yourself, oh, I don't have the energy for this, I don't have the energy for that. It's like, you do. You just think you don't. And, you know, you need to remember what happens when you do neglect it, basically. So anyways, I just wanted to come on and share that the supermoon was intense. And just to, in my opinion, these are just like my opinions really, about what happens when you don't do whatever it is that you should do. Whether that's magic, you know, some kind of magical workings, whatever it is, like meditation that you do. You know, maybe you're the type of person that just goes and does like this really like spring clean type of cleanse on your house. You know, it doesn't have to be magic. Just whatever you do to keep your stress level down. And when you neglect that practice, it can build up and can be really scary to go through that. So, let me know if the supermoon messed you up this month, and I guess I'll keep y'all apprised as to the Tower year. I know I've been kind of neglecting the channel lately, but I don't want to do that anymore. I want to keep up. I think I'm going to do some vlogs too now that it's summer, because I don't know, I feel like we do more in the summer. Everyone tends to do more in the summer. I tend to get out and do more with the dog. I tend to get in the herb garden more. So I'm going to do a couple of vlogs this summer too. Share with you guys. All right. I hope you are all well. Keep up with your stuff. Much love.